Often in our lives we experience feelings of powerlessness. Those times in our lives when we don't have the resources or the capabilities in us to affect change in people's lives or in some situation. Sure, there are the major issues going on in the world of our days that we feel powerless to affect any change. Issues like the drought in California or the weather patterns of a changing climate. The growing threat of ISIS, we are powerless to affect change. The divisions in the Middle East. The widening gap between rich and poor. Or racism and violence in America's city. These are all big issues that probably you and I don't feel that we have much power to bring change. But every day there are some situations as well that make us feel powerless. We feel powerless because there are limits to our intelligence. How am I going to have success in my chosen career path? How do I fix this new computer glitch? Or those instructions for putting together a new entertainment center really don't make any sense at all. Or I just can't seem to understand these legal documents sent by the insurance companies or Medicare, Medicaid. We feel powerless when we're faced with situations of financial scarcity. The Finance Committee and your pastor have stressed for months about a balanced budget, given the trends of slow numerical growth in our church, and with the deaths of many members who gave generously to this community throughout their lives. Or perhaps you are a parent who struggles to make ends meet from month to month, and you feel powerless to know how you're going to pay for your child's education. The people of Greece are not only wondering if they're going to stay a part of the European Union, but also will their pensions be in place when they retire. A young person in their 20s and 30s in this country often question if Social Security will still be around when they retire. There are other ways that we feel powerless. How do I kick this drug habit? How do I stop drinking? How do I stop smoking? How do I stop eating? How do I stop gambling? We feel powerless sometimes to improve our health, to lose weight, to make the changes that are needed to make us feel whole and loved and worth something. The scripture in today's passage from the Gospel of Mark has a lot of wisdom, speaking about the power of those who are powerless, or about where true power lies, and in whom true power is found. Today's Gospel lesson from Mark invites us to peek in on a birthday party for King Herod Antipas, ruler of Galilee in the 1st century, or in the time of Jesus and John the Baptist. And so let's begin and see if this story has something to teach us about power. First, there's something that I want you to know about Mark's Gospel. Mark is the first Gospel written. And Mark's Gospel announces the coming of a new world. The writer calls it the kingdom or the reign of God. And in the opening verse of his Gospel, Mark calls his work exactly that. Gospel. And gospel is a word that carries a very powerful meaning. The New The very first verse of chapter 1 says this: the beginning of the good news, or gospel, as is translated, of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. The gospel of Jesus Christ, Son of God. The Greek word for gospel is translated as evangelion. It was used as an imperial announcement, such as the birth of a new ruler or royalty. It was used when a new emperor ascended to the throne, or it was used for a military victory and a new arch would be built somewhere in the Roman Empire. Gospel, evangelion, is where we get the word evangelism. Mark's announcement that a new world is coming is certainly headline news. It would appear on CNN or MSNBC. But the old world is not going to go away quietly. The old world will not be ushered out quickly, nor will the old world change peacefully. And those courageous enough to announce good news, or evangelion, will face challenge and persecution. When Jesus lived, Herod Antipas, who was the son of the great King Herod, who built the temple in Jerusalem, Antipas was given the territories in northern Israel, Galilee and Perea, to rule. Antipas went to Rome to meet with Tiberius, the Caesar of Rome, and the stepson of Augustus Caesar. And Tiberius wanted the title of king, like his father, King Herod the Great. And so Antipas goes to Rome, and Rome sort of laughs off Antipas. But Tiberius says, I will give you Galilee and Perea. That's why if you go to the Holy Land today, one of the most beautiful cities you will visit is Tiberias. Tiberias was built by Antipas in honor of Emperor Tiberius. And today is still a beautiful city located on the Sea of Galilee. The good news, or the gospel of Jesus Christ, Son of God, is not good news for Herod Antipas. Today's lesson that's found in the 6th chapter of Mark, in verses 14 through 29, includes the tragic account of the death of John the Baptist. And Mark places it right after Jesus will send the 12 disciples out to preach and heal, as he's been doing. So it's another one of those sandwich stories. And so we move to the palace of Herod Antipas, son of Herod the Great. Herod's moved his principal city from Sepphoris to Tiberias. And it's Herod's birthday party. And at the birthday party, Herod Antipas will be presented with an unusual gift. Scripture informs us in verse 20 that Antipas liked to listen to John, which I find very fascinating. The King Herod Antipas listening to John the Baptist. And Scripture says that he knew John was a righteous and holy man. So John the Baptist must have had some power within him at work, even not on just the poor and peasant population, but the rich as well. Herod Antipas feared John the Baptist, however, because John spoke judgment on Herod's family. Herod had married his brother Philip's wife. And according to Torah, that wasn't such a cool thing to do when Philip was still alive. So John wasn't bashful about pointing out the sin to Herod Antipas that he had broken Torah, or Jewish law. And I can imagine Antipas saying, well, big deal. Jewish law, what's that to me? Ruler of Galilee and Perea. The woman who married first one brother and then the other had the curious name of Herodias. And I don't know if Mark gets that right, but that's what he gives her. And he gives her daughter the same name. Herodias wasn't intimidated by John the Baptist as her husband Antipas was. Josephus, the Roman historian, will call her Salome. So we have a differing account. But for today's lesson, Antipas marries Herodias, who was his brother's wife. And Herodias had a grudge against the Baptist, and she wanted him dead. But she couldn't, because Herod Antipas thought John the Baptist was pretty righteous and holy, even though John the Baptist scolded him. But still, Antipas liked to listen to him. So, we come to the birthday party. Cake, pie, ice cream, coffee, wine, whatever. Herodias gets this opportunity to silence John the Baptist once and for all. The wine is flowing, and Herod's daughter danced to please the men. She's called Herodias. Herod irresponsibly, probably after too much wine, shouts out a promise to give this pretty young dancer anything she asks. And so Herodias goes up to her mom, and they plot against John the Baptist. And so through her daughter, the dancer, Herodias demands the death of John. And foolishly, Herod Antipas agrees with Herodias because he wants to save face among the other royal dignitaries who are present at this party. John is there. So, okay. It's a crazy story. What are you going to do with it? God promises us a new world in Scripture. That's the good news. Bad news is, how are we going to achieve it? God's new world, the empire of goodness and compassion and peace and justice and equality, begins with a prophet's head on a platter. That's not good news. And that happens to a lot of prophets even today, who seek justice and compassion and equality and fairness. Herod thought he'd once and for all put an end to this prophetic nuisance called John the Baptist. But Herod is powerless to silence John and his message, because that prophetic message lives on through the disciples of John the Baptist and through Jesus and the disciples of Jesus and the community called church. The gospel continues. The preaching continues. The courage continues. Right here in this congregation, the courage continues. Looking out in your faces this morning, I don't see the power of Herod Antipas or Tiberius Caesar, or any of the other emperors that followed. That's the power of armies and nations and empires. That's the power of force and coercion. But you know what I see? I see power of a different sort. I see a community that has the power to make anything the community wants to happen, happen. I see John the Baptist and Jesus in the faces of you. I see the creation of a new world through you. I see the transformation of church as it was known decades ago to church as it is experienced now through you. Every time you speak up for love in the face of hate, every time that you side with truth and honesty in the face of injustice, you are showing power. the power of God in Jesus Christ and in John the Baptist. In the world's eyes, in their day, 2,000 years ago, Jesus and John the Baptist weren't considered powerful people. They weren't. They were part of a peasant community that was so fed up with injustice and inequality that they became the voice of change. And through their voices, they became powerful. It is the peculiar wisdom of God that speaks through the voices and the actions of those who are powerless to bring change, transformation, to bring a new world that's dawning before our very eyes. And it is through the powerless, people like you and I, that God is able to transform lives and build bridges and to sow seeds of peace and to bring the dawn of a new day.